Hi, Derek here from MEF China. So today I just wanted to talk about scheduling, how things kind of work in China and what to expect and why things tend to happen the way they do. So first of all, a lot of the times you'll find yourself in China with the schedule changing. Either schedule changing or things tend to happen more last minute. When I first arrived in China, I was quite surprised. It was like, I think, a Monday or a Tuesday, and they said, "Oh, we're having let's have an event on, let's say, Friday." It was one of those days, and so they're like, "Okay, let's meet tomorrow, and we'll go over the details and try to plan it out a bit, right?" So for me, with my experience, this was a bit of a shock, right? So, for example, my experience is more with Japan. So in Japan, nothing really happens last minute, and a lot of stuff is well planned. So they'll do, like in Japan, you'll have something like an event planned at least 6 months in advance, right? So, and you'll have a number of meetings. They like to have meetings and meetings for the meetings and whatnot. But you'll have this. The thing is you'll plan all of these things out, and then on the day of the event, even though it's all planned out, it doesn't change so much. There's a high level of stress. So you're going in there. A lot of the staff have high expectations, and they're quite stressed. Even if it's something simple like you've got a bunch of kids standing up there and singing a song. Where the kids are, something's not going to work perfect, and the kids are going to sing how they sing, but they still have this like very stressful atmosphere that you have to walk into, and you have to deal with it, and very high expectations. Where in China, when they have an event or they have something, a lot of the time it is last minute. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, jump in here, we're doing this. They go along with it, and you kind of have to go with the flow with these things and kind of just jump in. And with it, yeah, you can feel like you're being put on the spot, but the level of stress shouldn't be definitely shouldn't be as hard as what you would have in something like in Japan, because they don't have these high expectations. A lot of the time, they're just happy, go along. They're free going that way, and they're quite flexible in the way their thinking is. So a lot of the time, even for these events, or like let's jump up and everyone's gonna sing a song together, or do something like this, kind of on the spot. It's not something that they have huge expectations over. So yeah, when I compare Japan and compare China, where in Japan you have a lot of stress over scheduling in advance, and just having this sort of um, just this perfect mentality of where everything has to be detailed, everything has to be organized, um, and you have that stress that comes along with that, and that kind of trickles down and goes towards all the staff, and you can definitely feel it. Where in China you don't have that, right? So they're quite easygoing and flexible that way, and you have that bonus to it. So it's something where in China you have to get used to it. You have to be comfortable. You have to expect that things are going to change, and for the most part, it's nothing really huge. It's not. It's just something you have to get used to. You have to be flexible. Um, Another example, when we had training recently, we had many things kind of change. We had like we ordered a taxi, and then the taxi was in a different area, and then they canceled the taxi, so we ended up showing up late, and then suddenly we got ready quickly to do the training and start the training, and teach the first lesson as an example for these new teachers. And suddenly the principal's like, okay, let's take a photo. And we're like, okay, photo time, right? So suddenly we're taking a photo, and they're like, oh, let's go outside. We'll take a better photo outside. So suddenly we're like, okay, outside, taking the photo, and then this and that, everything kind of it's supposed to be in this classroom, but then the audio wasn't working in that classroom, and go to another classroom, and this sort of stuff kind of happens. And I spoke to the head teacher and said, okay, how could we have done it differently? What could we have organized differently? And her reply to me was basically, oh, this is China. You have to expect these sort of things. Stuff's going to come up, things are going to kind of go, and you have to go with the flow that way.